Hi there, it's Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. So this is the card, a 30th birthday card that we're going to be creating today using some things that I have recently got in. So I'm going to start off with, I've picked out all my blue oxides, and I just think I'm going to use the lighter three, the tumble glass, the salty ocean, and the broken china. I'm going to leave the other two for some layering effects in a minute. So anyway, I am going to start with a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and this is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I am using some little blending brushes to put all three of these colours on, and I am just kind of putting them on roughly, and then I go back and kind of blend them out. I'm not too worried about it being an absolutely seamless blend because, as I said, I'm going to layer on top of it. But I do want it to be, kind of a reasonable job as well. And just because the oxide, you will get fingerprints in it when it's wet, I have that little piece of paper that I'm using when I want to hold my other hand to hold the paper. So then I have the stencil. The stencil is from AliExpress, and I will put a link down below. I was deciding whether I wanted to use the blueprint sketch or the Mermaid Lagoon, and I thought the blueprint sketch was just a smidge too dark. So I've gone for the Mermaid Lagoon here, and this stencil does not quite cover the top and the bottom. So I've kind of placed it right in the middle because it's a really easy design to shift around. So I am just going over it kind of with quite a heavy hand, quite a lot of ink, because I want to make sure it's a decent pattern, and you can see there it is. And then I'm just going to line it up down there. You can see there's a wee bit down the very bottom and the very top that it doesn't quite catch. So I'm just going to line up the stencil again and then really quickly go over it. I actually don't need to do this in the end, but anyhow, for the minute, I am doing it because, I like it to be all finished. Anyhow, so that's my panel there, ready to go. Then I figured I would do one more thing. This is some masking paper. You could use Post-its or some tape, or any low-tack tape would work for this. This is just what I had on my desk from a previous little card that I was doing. And so I am just going to tape off one of those little squares on my mat. That's what I'm using. So I think that's around 1/4 inch border that I am going to create. And this is where I'm going to use the blueprint sketch, which is kind of quite a dark blue ink, and I'm going to create a little border just to frame up this nice simple card. So you could definitely trim down the edges and kind of use a matting layer to do this, like a separate piece of cardstock, but at the time I just chose to do this for no particular rhyme or reason. So I do the two long sides first, and then I'm going to come back and do the top and the bottom, and there's no being gentle about this. I just smother on the blue ink and it looks perfectly fine. Take them off, and I did actually give it a little dry as well with a heat gun. Now I have this stencil here with all the numbers, and it's got some of those fun little things down the bottom that would be cool for some birthday cards, but I have stamped out the numbers 3 and 0 because this is a 30th birthday card. And I'm just using this little mini alphabet, which is also from AliExpress, to get the TH of the 30th part of it. Then I have this happy birthday die here, and I'm just showing you in the black, but I actually end up die cutting it in white. And I end up layering up a few of the happy birthdays, and I separate them out. I separate the two of them because they were two joined words, so I've just cut them apart, and I think I put 3 in each layer. So I also have, this is the black soot and the distress ink, just because that's what I have. You could use any inks in particular, and I'm just picking up a tiny little bit of that black ink with my water brush to fill it in the shadow part of the numbers. I most certainly could have coloured the numbers as well, maybe even like an orange or something, kind of contrasting to the blue, but I just decided to keep this card kind of nice and white and blue. I didn't want the colour scheme to be too outrageous. So I roughly know how I want everything to sit on the card. It's just going to be nice and centered, really plain, and pretty obvious way to set it out. And then I know that I'm going to just put down these ones flat because, as I said, there's actually 3 layers of cardstock, and the happy and the birthday and the TH. And so these ones are they kind of look like nice thick chipboard now, and they were made out of Nina Solar white paper as well. So I've just glued them down either side with some Tombow mono glue. Any liquid adhesive or even dry adhesive would work as well. Then I have these foam squares here, which are also from AliExpress, and I am putting plenty on the back of them. I always like to add plenty of foam tape when I can, and I am lining up these numbers, and then the little TH will go on the side. So just using a little bit of the same liquid adhesive to glue those down. And then there's only a couple of finishing touches that I'm going to do to this card. The first one is to add some Wink of Stella, which this one in particular is just a kind of silver clear sparkle. So it just adds a nice sparkle, which is really hard to see on camera, but in real life it does make it sparkly. And I add that all over all of the numbers and letters. And then the only other thing I'm going to do is add some splatters. Now, I probably could have stopped here and the card would have been fine too. But I am using this was white gesso, and so I am going to water it down with some just water, put a little bit of paper towel over the big number 30 because I didn't want any splashes on that one, but I didn't mind about the words, and then just tap my little paintbrush to get some little white splatters here and there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the blue, but I'm just using the oxide ink, the Blueprint Sketch oxide ink, with a little bit of water and covering up the 30 again to add some dark blue splashes because I wanted to keep in theme with the card, so that's why I'm using the same whites and blues. That's my card for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it and that you can make something similar. There'll be links down in the description box below. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye.